welcome to a brand new episode of the Straight Up Show podcast. I am your host, Calvin. And y'all, this has been a crazy year in 2025. So much has been going on. And if you're a fan of the show or you listen to our podcast, you know that we've had several people on who are protesters, people who are immigrants, people who have spouses or family members going through deportation and suffering through the whole new agenda when it comes to ICE and deportation. We've had several lawyers on the show, but today we have a lawyer that's kind of in the realm of dealing with this today. But on June 11th, I was on TikTok Live, like I always am, late at night, and I was unable to go to this anti-ICE protest, which basically ICE has been illegally detaining people at their homes, their schools, their jobs, and which the administration at hand right now said that they're only going to tackle people who are criminals. Right. And that has not been going on. It's been some form of kidnapping and is just outright wrong. And so we hear it straight up. We try to stay out of politics, but at the same time, what's right, we have to speak up on it, because what I witnessed on June 11th was very wrong. And it was kind of hard to see this. And so before I kind of explain what happened on June 11th, let me introduce my guest today. He is a Las Vegas lawyer. He definitely has been on the forefront of civil rights, and did my research on him. And so, but without further ado, help me welcome attorney Stephen Stubbs. Stephen, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you, Calvin, for having me.
All right. And like I said, we spoke briefly, and like I said, man, a lot of stuff has been going on. But before we kind of deep dive into what happened on June 11th into June 12th, can you explain to people who don't know you, who you are and what kind of law do you practice and what do you do?
I am a civil rights lawyer specializing in the First Amendment. When the government crosses the line, I push back a little.
And like I said, how long have you been doing like law?
18 years.
18 years. Wow. Has it all been in Las Vegas or?
Yeah, I'm licensed in Nevada. I'm fourth generation here in the Las Vegas Valley. Mm-hmm. And so my entire career has been in Las Vegas.
So I'm pretty sure within that 18 years, you've seen a lot of civil rights issues pop up and you defend it. And so for those who do not know, right, can you explain to us what happened on June 11th? Into June 12th.
So June 11th was an anti-ICE protest. A lot of people were getting together. Actually, I believe there's over 1,000 people that showed up to protest ICE and the current federal administration, executive branch, and what they are doing to local communities.
Right, and then so. That was very massive. And then and during this time, it was on Wednesday. And so all across the nation, so many people were protesting like anti-ICE, from LA to Las Vegas, Chicago. And then, subsequently, going fast forward to that Saturday, which was No King's Day, to where almost 10 million people globally protested the same exact thing. Now, the reason why you're here, because you represent someone. When I watched this live, your client's live, and I'm not sure we can say the person's name, but for right now, your client.
Sure, you can say her name. That's fine.
Okay, Karlin.
She's known as okay. She's known as Ms. Tunes with Z's on TikTok. It's Ms. Tunes. That's her handle on TikTok, and it's Karlin. She's Latina. Okay. Karlin Martinez.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and Miss Tunes on TikTok, and like I said, it was just a random day, and she popped up on my For You page because for those who don't know, Las Vegas is very popular for streamers and people that who are Las Vegas residents try to bring more attention to Las Vegas, what people may misconceive about Las Vegas, but they really show you how Las Vegas really is through their platforms. And Miss Martinez is definitely one of those people. And so on this night, she and her.
First of all, let's talk about what she generally does, right? There's a street in Las Vegas called Fremont Street.
Okay.
And if you ever come to Las Vegas and you want to see the crazy, that's where the crazy is.
Right.
And so Miss Martinez every weekend will TikTok live Friday and Saturday nights, I believe, from Fremont Street in Las Vegas, and all kinds of crazy things happen. I saw one where a guy came and kissed another dude without asking, and the dude just decked him. I mean,
What?
nuts. It's just nuts. It's the Las Vegas crazy, right? So, costumes and street performers and fit content. I mean, that's what she does, right? And that's her following.
Mm-hmm.
So when there was going to be an ICE protest, she believes in the cause for one, but naturally she's a TikTok streamer.
Right.
So she was there to stream the entire event. What's interesting about this case is we have the protest from her perspective, all on video, like completely on video, between TikTok and YouTube. There was a time when her battery died, and so she had to switch phones, which that one was on YouTube, and she streamed on YouTube. But I usually don't get that with clients. Usually I get them telling me things, like seriously, except for the pauses when she had to switch out things or charge her phone or different things like that. I mean, we're missing less than 6 minutes total out of 5.5 hours. So we have her entire perspective, which makes this case very, very strong, because Metro can't say, oh, this happened, when we have the video from her perspective the entire time.
Right. And that's what she does beautifully. Like, she definitely captures Fremont Street. And because people who come to Vegas, they don't know about Fremont Street. So she definitely does that. And when I tuned in, she captured me already. Like, this, her personality, how funny she was, and the thing about this is, like, what people don't understand, she was being peaceful. She was promoting peace. Like, she was definitely promoting.
Yeah, absolutely. Promoting peace. It's interesting because the whole time some people turn to protesting against cops for some reason. And the whole time she was advocating, was like, hey, that's not why we're here. Stay on message. And she would try to get people away from yelling at the police and into chanting and being there for their real reason. She didn't want to lose focus. She didn't want this to get out of hand. In fact, we have the video of the 4 people that threw full water bottles at police officers.
Wow.
She was there, and all of a sudden, just the water bottles go flying.
Wow.
And that's not okay. It's not okay to attack police officers and throw things at police officers. When that happened, it was just after 9:00 p.m. When that happened, a whole group of people were like, oh, we don't want to be part of this, right? Let's move our protest. And you can see that, and she's talking. Now, when she talks, she actually interacts with TikTok. So she's narrating, interacting, she's looking at her phone. I mean, that's just kind of the way it works. But she's also talking about the people around there, like, hey, we're going to Fremont Street. We don't want to be a part of this craziness. And so she and hundreds of other people that did not want to be part of any violence whatsoever towards police officers literally left from in front of the courthouse where the center of the protest was, and where the disbursement order came from. So they left and they went to Fremont Street. So when the police are giving a dispersal order in front of the courthouse to those people, she wasn't there.
Right.
And nowhere in her video do you hear any kind of dispersal order whatsoever. And hundreds of people could not have heard it because they were blocks away, because they didn't want to be part of any of the BS.
And what also bothers me is that there was a tweet sent out, right, during the protest, that who would see this tweet about unlawful if people are out there protesting? So how would they know to go if no one saw these tweets about, hey, you can't be there?
Okay, so actually the tweets are important. So is the Facebook, so is the Instagram. They put it on all the socials. It's important because if someone does see it, they're notified.
Right.
However, that can't necessarily be used against somebody for a charge of failing to disperse. Right. So let's talk about failure to disperse for a second, okay? If people are protesting, or there's a group of people, any group of people, and things turn violent or things turn criminal. Now, they did not get a permit. If you get a permit ahead of time, they'll actually close off the streets for you, and then you can be in the streets. But you have to get a permit. They've got to give notice to the public, all those kinds of things. That didn't happen. So were people that were filling the streets, the roadways, and people couldn't get past. that is criminal. You can't do that.
Right.
And Metro will warn them a certain amount of times, but if it keeps happening, they can actually declare it an unlawful assembly. Also, the violence towards police officers, that's not cool. That's not cool at all. And so when that happens, they can declare it an unlawful assembly. And at that point, any officer, the statute's very clear, it's any public officer or a sheriff or a court, there's a whole list, but any officer can do a disbursement order. And if you do not follow a valid disbursement order, it's a misdemeanor crime and you can be arrested. Here's the thing, though. Metro for years has not been giving out constitutional disbursement orders. There's a case, Chicago v. Morales. It's a 1999 United States Supreme Court case to where the United States Supreme Court talks about a statute in Chicago, and they declare it unconstitutionally vague as it was applied. It wasn't vague in what it said, but the way that the police applied it made it unconstitutionally vague. And that means that a normal person would not know what they could or could not do, right? And that makes it unconstitutionally vague, right? So the United States Supreme Court set out actually three elements, right, that would make it so that it was not unconstitutionally vague and it was a valid disbursement order, right? Number one, there has to be fair notice. That's what they said. A person has to be communicated the disbursement order and given an opportunity to obey the disbursement order. You can't just tell them something and arrest them, okay? So fair notice. And that makes sense, right? And so any of these cases, any one of these cases, for the protesters being arrested for failure to disperse or obstruction or unlawful assembly or any of those other charges that they were charged with, the police, in order for it to be a valid arrest, have to be able to say, I told them to disperse in a constitutional way, right? They have to be given fair notice and an opportunity to obey that. The next two elements actually deal with the disbursement order itself. They have to, number one, clearly communicate where they have to disperse from. And the court actually says it has to put them on notice of where they can go. And if they go that far away, that they are complying with the order. And you're not allowed to just say neighborhood. You're not allowed to say downtown Las Vegas. They have to be specific, right? You can't clear out all of Las Vegas, right?
Especially on Fremont Street, which is so close to downtown.
Well, they could. They didn't do it for Fremont Street. That's the thing. They did not do a dispersal order for Fremont Street. Their dispersal order was very clearly the 500 block of Las Vegas Boulevard, which is fine. They designated that and they were specific. But that means that if you're in the 600 block or the 400 block, or you're in the 500 block of 6th Street, which is a street down, or 4th Street, which is a street up, if you are in those places, then you have properly followed the disbursement order, right? So the location part, Metro's okay with what they said. They're not okay with the fact that they arrested people for those things outside of that area. That's a problem. So if you're arrested outside the 500 block of Las Vegas Boulevard, all right, then Metro has a problem, right? But the second element, or the third total element, second element of a disbursement order, is the one that Metro messes up all the time. They do not give constitutional disbursement orders. I've actually never heard them give a constitutional disbursement order. I've heard other departments in other states do it, but not Metro, because you have to set a time. You have to tell the protesters until midnight or until 11 or until 3 a.m. or whatever that time is. And according to Chicago v. Morales, it's a 1999 United States Supreme Court case. If you don't give them the time and you don't give them the location and you don't give them fair notice, then it's unconstitutionally vague, meaning that a normal person, they don't know what they can and cannot do. And so the law cannot be used to arrest them. And so that's the big problem here. Yeah, and that's why I've actually put it out there that anybody arrested for the June 11th protest for obstruction, failure to disperse or unlawful assembly, and that's the only charge they have. They're not hurting police or anything like that. I will represent you for free, and I don't care how many there are. I will gladly do that. I'll give you my cell phone number right now, 702-759-3224. Free, pro bono. You're not going to pay fees. You're not going to pay costs. You're going to pay nothing just because this is so ridiculous. And so I'm happy to do that.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you stepped up because, just seeing that was definitely unlawful. We're going to have a little bit more with attorney Stephen Stubbs on the other side of the break. Make sure you stay tuned to the Straight Up Show podcast.
Voting. It's a right, a privilege, and a responsibility. Many have made the ultimate sacrifice just so we could have the ability to vote on what we believe is best for us and our community. So, we here at Straight Up ask you to do your research, let your voice be heard, and be proud to say, I straight up voted.
Years ago, my family had us scared when we thought my mom had breast cancer. It was painful to see her go through all the testing and witnessing her be just as scared. Fortunately, she did not have breast cancer, but millions of women and men aren't as lucky. So we here at Straight Up are supporting and standing with those who are battling and have survived breast cancer with our official breast cancer awareness merchandise. Just visit our website, straightupshowpodcast.com, and get yours today. All proceeds will be donated to local breast cancer foundations. So we encourage you not only to get educated, but join us as we stand straight up to breast cancer.
Yeah, if you come out here, thanks guys.
Undercover car.
Yeah, if you guys come out here, just make sure to keep it peaceful, guys. That's all we want.
That one right there.
We're keeping it peaceful. We're on live. We're not doing nothing.
That's what I mean, like some dumb shit like that.
I literally just said I'm keeping it peaceful.
All right, welcome back to the Straight Up Show podcast. I'm your host, Calvin. Today, I am joined by Las Vegas criminal civil rights attorney, Stephen Stubbs. Thank you once again, Stephen, for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you very much, Calvin. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, and so, like I said, I love that top, by the way. Are you a big Marvel fan?
Huge Marvel fan.
Fantastic Four's coming out. It's going to be, it's getting good. It's getting good. So
I love how they went back to the 60s. So
yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that take on it.
Yeah, it's definitely good. And so Stephen is a superhero in his own right, and today we're talking about how he came to the defense, someone who was wrongfully done. And
I have a theme song. Did you know that?
What's the theme song? You have actual theme song?
Stephen Stubbs fights for justice every day. Stephen Stubbs' clients are like family. Stephen Stubbs, law ninja that can sing and dance. His enemies don't stand a chance. Stephen Stubbs.
Have you recorded that? Because I think you should.
No, I have a video on YouTube. It went viral. It's
I like that.
I have another one. It's just like, I'm Stephen Stubbs. I fight for justice daily. I'm Stephen Stubbs. Clients love my strength. I'll rise above. Use legal skills to save the day. I'll right the wrong and you'll get paid. Call 493. Well, I don't have that phone number anymore. He fights for justice every day. He's Stephen Stubbs.
Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. That was pretty cool. That was really cool. I like that. Like I said, man, he's definitely a hero. And like I said, just your client, Karlin Martinez, you came to her defense. And like I said, this is why Stephen and I are here today, because what happened to anti-ICE protester and commonly known Fremont TikTok streamer, Karlin Martinez, she was arrested.
Miss Tunes. It's at
Miss Tunes.
Ms. Tunes. With these. So MZTOONZ, yeah.
And I'll definitely post her tag once you see the actual visual part of this. If you're listening, we'll have it on the show's description as well, so you can follow her and what she has documented, everything she's been through with this whole thing. Now, jumping right back into it, like I said, she was there. She was not around the prohibited area when this happened, but she was leaving, and like she on her TikTok stream, she was leaving the area because it got a little hasty, a little kind of crazy. So she and other streamers did not want to be a part of that. And as I witnessed myself, she also was promoting peace. If you're going to protest, but be careful. She was not antagonizing. Now, this is the part that I want to come and say and come to her defense as well. She walked past several officers. Her and the other person she met, the other streamer she met as well. They were walking together and just both commentating.
But they were not together. Just to be clear.
No, yeah, they weren't together.
They met that night.
They met that night. Yeah.
Real names.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
They were just both streamers that kind of stood together that evening, right?
And it's kind of how it happens in Las Vegas. You meet somebody on the street, and then like you become friends. Because at the No Kings protest, I met people that were my friends. I'm like, I don't even know your name, but hey, we're friends, you know. So that's kind of what happened at this, because everyone came together. Like Karlin and the other guy, the other person, they came together just for one cause, and they just kind of like, hey, you know what? Just hey, you're doing the same thing. Let's tag along, and so. That's what was going on. Just her and the other individual, not together, but like just coming together as a common cause. And so both documenting what's going on their separate TikTok streams. And they walked past several officers. Some gave them the stink eye for recording, but they had said, hey, don't want to cause any trouble. We want to just walk and just keep it peaceful and no issues, right? And so but until then, shortly after this, Stephen, can you fill in the blanks? What happened after they once passed other officers, but then they passed another set, and then what happened after this?
Well, first of all, the incident you're going to show, it happened the next day. It was June 12th, right? It was after midnight. The arrest is officially at 12:05 in the morning. The TikTok shows that they were arrested about 12:03 a.m. the next day. The protest was over. In fact, you'll see the officers that walked by in that video, they had all of their protective gear in bags, and they were walking away from the staging area. They had been told to leave by their superiors. Most of the protesters were gone. The protest was over, right? Now let's go back 3 hours earlier. So 3 hours earlier, actually 4 hours earlier, she showed up at almost 8 o'clock. That's when the protest started. By 9 o'clock, some people were in front of the courthouse, the federal courthouse. Some people were throwing some water bottles and attacking police officers. And Miss Martinez did not want to have anything to do with that, nor did like hundreds of other people that said, hey, we're going to move our protest to Fremont Street. And so right after that happened, and you can see them talking about it and doing it, they leave. They left before there was any disbursement order given, any whatsoever. So they never heard a disbursement order, and they're gone. Now, what happens in front of the courthouse, right? We can talk about different cases at different times. But as far as Miss Martinez and her group of hundreds of people, they actually walked 3 blocks down and went to Fremont Street, and they did their protest in front of Fremont Street. Now, they were there for a while. They were there for a few hours until police left. I mean, there was a time when there was a large police presence, but they were just there. Everything was cool, though. Nothing really happened. But then the police just dispersed. At one point, they were stoic and just standing there, and all of a sudden, they were relaxed and packing up their stuff and getting out of there. And of course, everybody's cheering or whatever, right? And so this was just past about past 11 o'clock. Like at that point, a lot of the protesters were like, okay, we won, right? The police are gone. And they left. A majority of the protesters left at that time. And then the police were leaving too. So after that, she's still engaging. She stays engaging as long as there's people on TikTok that are engaging with her, right? She wants to do that for her fans. So she walked around with some other TikTokers and stuff, and they went down the street, down Fremont, the other direction. They encountered, the police staging area. They encountered like other police officers. They went on a side street, and then they were videotaping actually some people getting aggressive with the police and some tear gas, right? So they did that, right? And then they just kept on moving, and they saw some flashing lights on 6th and Bridger. And so they went over there, and the police were there, and there was a police presence across the street from them. And there was an ambulance there too. So something was going on. And so they were streaming that. And if you actually look at what's going on, they're interacting with their TikTokers, and the TikTokers are, I guess, throwing hats on the screen.
Yeah.
People can throw hats and stuff. And so they're actually trying to catch people in hats and do funny things. It's just, yeah. But in any case, they have the right. You have a First Amendment freedom of press right to record police officers performing their official duties in public, right? That is a constitutional right you have. The courts have made that clear in over half of the circuits, including the Ninth Circuit, which is Nevada is within the Ninth Circuit. And so they're just exercising their right, and they're standing there peacefully. There was actually Channel 8 was across the street the other way filming the same thing, right? So there was another news organization that was just over there doing the exact same thing. So they're just standing there and minding their own business, and then midnight hits, and it's now the next day, and those group of 16 officers walk by. They're walking away from the staging area because they're done for the day. They're done. They're walking away. The protest has been over for about an hour now. Most people have left. There's just a few stragglers, and they're done. And they walk by, and everybody walks by peacefully. Nobody does anything when Sergeant Fred Oliveri is his name.
Okay.
Everybody's calling him Mr. Clean, but his name is Sergeant Fred Oliveri. He decides to get mouthy with them. He initiates a conversation, and he asks, if they're enjoying themselves. And she says, "Oh, we're just covering everything, right? No big deal." But he says it in a very demeaning way. You watch it, he was not being nice. And then he says, "Oh, don't you have anything better to do?" Now that was really demeaning. It's demeaning and belittling what they are doing. Exercising their rights to protest, exercising their rights to videotape, exercising all these First Amendment rights. And if someone asks me, is there anything better to do than exercise your First Amendment rights? My answer is no. No, there is nothing more important than exercising your rights, right? Maybe you do it with family, because family is important too. But that was rude, right? Sergeant Oliveri was rude, just very, very rude. So the other person, the other streamer that was next to Miss Martinez, he said, "How about honor your oath? How about honor your oath? B word," right? Called him a B word, right? Now, that in of itself is protected by the First Amendment, right? 100% protected by the First Amendment, right? You are allowed to annoy police officers. You're allowed to call police officers names, as long as it's not fighting words. Now, can I clarify fighting words for you?
Yeah.
Fighting words are words that by their very nature would cause a reasonable person to have an immediate breach of peace, right? There are certain things that if they're said to certain people in a certain way, then that person and anybody in their situation would reasonably react and cause a breach of peace, cause a fight, right? If you want to think of examples of that, imagine that you were a Holocaust survivor and someone comes up to you and starts screaming at you about what happened at that day, right? That's the kind of thing, right? Or if you're a survivor of a horrible, horrible crime and somebody is yelling and screaming at you in a way that is just despicable. If it gets that far. Now, there's a case in the Ninth Circuit, U.S. v. Pucha, which actually says it sets out. I mean, there was a hippie colony and the feds executed a warrant, and while they're executing the arrest warrant, the hippie colony surrounded the police, and they were saying horrible things, including the C word, right? Horrible, horrible things, and they were actually arrested and convicted for saying those horrible things, because the courts thought that they crossed the line. Well, Pooch actually said, no, you didn't cross the line. It didn't get that far. you're allowed to call police horrible names, right? As a police officer, you're supposed to take more on and not less because you're a representative of the government. And when someone is talking against police, they're really talking against the government. So there's that case also. So saying the B word is super mild in comparison to what he could have said and had it still be legal. Right. And so we've covered fighting words. You can't do the fighting words. Also, clear fighting words are threatening someone to fight. That is not protected by the First Amendment. If you threaten somebody, then that's not protected either, right? So anyway, this man, I'm not going to call him a gentleman because he didn't act like a gentleman.
Yeah.
But this man, right, this TikToker said the B word, and Sergeant Olivero completely lost his cool.
Yeah,
it's in the video. He goes around, he points to him and said, "You were supposed to get lost," right? He goes to jail. And then Miss Martinez is just actually recording, say, "I didn't say anything," because she didn't.
Yeah, she didn't.
Right? She didn't say anything. And she's just trying to record, but she got attacked too, and she got arrested also. Now, the sergeant called them to bring her over to him. And her phone is on the ground, by the way, at this point. And he said, "You should have shut your mouth too, and you had a camera in my face." So those were the real reasons why she was arrested, and she was told that, right? He also called her a dumbass, and which I think is worse than bitch, the way he said it. I mean, that wasn't cool at all. But he said, "Go back to LA. This isn't LA, dumbass." I mean, it's interesting that he got upset about something and then he went and actually did worse than that, right? And of course, he violated their constitutional rights for sure, right? And so you could watch the video, you can see it for yourself. I mean, that's what happened. But I mean, the protest was over, right? The disbursement order wasn't even constitutional. Even if it was constitutional, it was in an area that they were not in. They specifically said the 500 block of Las Vegas Boulevard. They were not in the 500 block of Las Vegas Boulevard. They were 300 feet from the outer edge of that, right? So they were well outside of it. And so I think it's a clear unlawful arrest.
And the fact that like so many people charged both of them, so many officers charged both of them, like that's what kind of bothered me because like, Ms. Martinez is, I haven't seen her in person, but, from what I can see from her videos, like it didn't take 16 officers to take her down.
Right. She's 5'2". She's pretty skinny. It's not. They could have also said you're under arrest. I mean, they could have done that too, but they just attacked her. I mean, all they did was attack 16 of them. It's like everybody wanted in on this. It's pretty egregious.
Let me ask you this: like, so if you're protesting and they arrest you, are you allowed to ask why am I being arrested, or do they have to tell you why?
You're allowed to ask, but they don't have to tell you. They'll disclose that to you on the paperwork.
Okay.
So police, they generally will, and it's good practice, and most police officers do that. But they don't have to tell you immediately. They don't have to vocalize it, right? They can just say you're under arrest, and you're under arrest. I mean, at that point, different rights trigger. So
that's crazy. 16 officers on 2 people. Man, hey, y'all stay tuned. Steve's gonna tell us more about what happened after the arrest. That's gonna blow your mind. Make sure you stay tuned to the Straight Up Show podcast.
I think straight up means to be able to speak in a way that is straight up, to be honest, and to speak your truth.
Raw, uncut, you know what I mean? It's blunt, straight to the point. This is what it is.
It's just a place to be open and honest, and that's what I appreciate most about it. And it provides a place for community members to come together and just be straight up with each other about things that are going on in the world, because it affects all of us.
Unfiltered, raw, with all the cursing that Calvin does.
Straight up is just being real, telling it like it is, being you.
Being solid, being who you are, no matter what it is, no matter what situation you're faced with, right? This is who you are. It really speaks to me, saying it is what it is and it ain't what it ain't. Straight up.
It's Monday, you know what that means. A new artist hits the straight up stage for another edition of Music Monday. Tune in to hear talented music artists from all over the world. Artists like Victoria Silk and Jonathan Valenzuela. Come experience some of the best that music has to offer and see why fans want more. Artists like the Rap Assassin 5. It's Music Monday only on the Straight Up Show podcast. Are you an up-and-coming artist and would like your music to be featured on the show? Don't wait. Send us a message right now.
Everybody out there, I'm Sultan Salahuddin from Southside. Season 3 is out right now on HBO Max. Make sure you tune in, and make sure you tune in to the Straight Up Podcast Show whenever you are online. Peace.
Enjoying yourself?
You know, covering everything.
Nothing better to do?
Honor your oath. How about honor your oath, bitch? How about that? Honor your oath. Oh, there you go.
I didn't do nothing. I didn't say nothing.
You're supposed to get lost. This guy goes to jail. He goes to jail. Let's go. Put your hands behind your back. Yep. Let's go. You go to jail. Big mouth.
I'm just watching. I'm watching. I didn't do nothing.
Hey, I'm breaking my glass.
Party's over.
I'm gonna have a heart attack. You're fucking pushing me. I'm not resisting. I swear I'm not resisting.
Man, do you have ID on you? Do you have ID on you?
Yeah, but
where is it?
My backpack.
Is there if I go in your backpack to grab it?
No.
Bro, she's under arrest. All right, so you're going to jail.
I don't.
You're going to be searched anyway. Inventory to arrest.
I didn't leave. You guys are just telling me to leave or something?
We told everyone to leave 3 hours ago.
Are you serious?
3
I
hours
didn't hear
ago.
that?
Everybody heard it. Why do you think they're running around like chickens with their heads cut off?
But I've been walking around covering from your guys' side. I've been saying keep it peaceful.
You enjoy your night? You enjoy your night?
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, you should have shut your mouth too. And you should have left hours ago.
I didn't.
Well, now shut up. We're dealing with no fucking rookie. Shut your fucking mouth. Let's go.
I'm defending people here telling them to be nice to you, and you're sitting here thinking.
You got a tablet in my face.
I didn't.
Shut your mouth and walk. Shut your mouth and walk. Go back to LA, dumbass. Stay fucking LA.
Welcome back to the Straight Up Show podcast. I am your host, Calvin. Today, I am joined by civil rights attorney here in Las Vegas, Stephen Stubbs. Once again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me, Calvin.
And like I said, if you can see why he's so vocal, why he's passionate about the people he defends, because he really believes that people have the rights. And now that he's educating us about if you're out there protesting, what rights you do have. And today we're talking about his current client right now, Karlin Martinez, who was
Karlin.
Karlin, there we go. Thank you for
she's Latina. Karlin.
Yeah, Karlin. Like I said, my Spanish is bad, so I gotta make sure. I even asked her, am I saying your name right? She's like Karlin. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but she's on TikTok as Miss. It's Miss Tunes, right? Tunes, right?
It's ITSMZTOONZ. It's Miss Tunes. So she's known as Miss Tunes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so that makes sure we have her information tagged on it so you can support her and see how she documents, because she is a very critical part of the streaming community, especially here in Las Vegas, especially on Fremont Street, to where you see all the live action, all the stuff you probably don't see anywhere else in Vegas. She is one of the people you might want to follow because she does great things in the community. And one thing that she is doing great is speaking out about the anti-ICE protest. She's going out about what wrongful arrest. But unfortunately, she was on the side of being arrested herself, which we talked about, that 16 officers. She was just an innocent bystander to where someone she met that night was riding next to her or standing next to her, and they got to a verbal altercation, and Miss Martinez was just sitting there filming the whole thing, and she was also attacked. So what was the arrest? What was her initial, what was the probable cause? Well, there was no probable cause in my opinion, but like, what did they charge her with when they arrested her?
They charged her with unlawful assembly.
Okay.
It's a misdemeanor.
It's a misdemeanor. Okay, so she was charged with unlawful arrest. This is what's going to blow y'all's mind, okay? Stephen.
Unlawful assembly.
Unlawful assembly, sorry. So this is the part that gets me, and which, she even told me that, hey, it's not over with yet. Wait until you speak. And then, so when she got arrested, what did you see that stood out that was kind of mind blowing?
Okay, so one of the things that stood out is the Las Vegas Municipal Court, which is the court that had jurisdiction for most of these cases. On the morning, it was like 9:30, somewhere in the morning of the 12th, sent out a court order that said if people were arrested for unlawful assembly, failure to disperse, or obstruction, I think there was one other charge there, that they are to be given an own recognizance release, no bail, right? So they just basically said that's going to happen. Nobody's going to have to post bail, and they're to be released on their own recognizance. Well, if that happened at 9:30 in the morning on the 12th, why is it that most of them weren't released until the 13th? They had an entire day to obey the court's lawful order to give them an own recognizance, and they actually just didn't do it. Now, I've been told by some police officers that because there were so many people there, that some police officers were told, hey, we'll just put you at the back of the line because everybody had to be processed. Go home, you're at the end of your shift, and come back on your next shift. So without paperwork, these guys would go home and there's someone in jail without signed paperwork. Ms. Martinez's temporary custody report was not even signed by an arresting officer at all. Nobody signed the report that authorized her to go to jail in the first place. And so it was just completely unsigned. Then on top of it, they had her ID. They write in the temporary custody record that they know that she was born in the United States. But for some reason, they designated her in the computer system as citizenship unknown. That is a flag in the computer that says, ICE, you're welcome to come and get this person. It's the computer system with the recent agreements that the courts and the police have with ICE to cooperate with them. They knew exactly what they were doing. And really, that's terrifying because there are stories of people that are accidentally, I'm putting air quotes here, accidentally deported that are citizens of the United States. And I says, I'm sorry, we make mistakes, blah, blah. Yeah, this was no accident. They wrote on the paperwork, they knew she was born in California. They knew she was a United States citizen. They had her ID, but they put in the computer system that they don't know her citizenship. That's messed up. That's really, really messed up.
Is that violating in itself that they did that, or?
That definitely makes your ears perk, doesn't it?
It does, but is that? Is that illegal? Because I know everything has changed right now, but is that illegal? Because I know what things have been changing legally when it comes to ICE and deportation. But if they can do that purposely and change and put unknown.
Now, we believe it was purposeful, but mean, we'll see. We'll see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even sign her temporary custody record. Without that signature, they have no legal right to have her in temporary custody. And so her paperwork wasn't even signed by anybody.
I've come to know her, right? Just from like the past couple weeks, and even after this happened and she got out, on live, you don't see her distressed at all because she's just a high energy person, right? She loves to laugh. But how is she doing right now? What was her emotional toll that this took on her, and what was her reaction after she got released? And because correct me if this is her first time being arrested, right?
Yeah, it's her first time. She's definitely traumatized. It's interesting because she tries to be so positive. And she does, and then you'll just be talking with her, and then all of a sudden she'll just be in tears. I've witnessed it many times, actually, in just meetings, to where it just kind of hits her, and she just starts crying. So this has definitely affected her in a negative way. And then also you hear on on the TikTok how she informs them, you pushed me and I have a heart condition. She has a very serious heart condition. 2 hospitals, 5 specialists. I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is because frankly, it's nobody's business. But she has a serious heart condition. And so the stress and anxiety of what was going on and her fear that something was going to go wrong with her because she's been told to try to stay out of high anxiety situations. And she didn't expect a protest to be high anxiety. She's staying away from trouble. She's just, being positive and interacting with her fans, right? But it's definitely a concern, and it's not right that they would treat it this way.
It's scary because and having previous lawyers on the show, just to see them baffle what's going on when it comes to being immigration lawyers. How bad could this what all this happened right now? How bad could have this gone?
There's no way to answer that. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'd love to answer all your questions, but I mean, that's just one of those questions to where it's a rabbit hole. I can talk to you about what happened,
right,
and how messed up that is, but I'm not gonna opine on worst case scenario, all kinds of stuff, right?
And the best part about all this is she's good. She has her superhero with Steven right now, and he's definitely. This is a question outside of Miss Martinez. You've seen all this thing going on right now, and has this made things harder for you as a attorney at all? Has it challenged you at all?
Well, every case is challenging. I have work to do, and taking on these cases make it so that my schedule's a lot more full, right? So, but that's okay, right? Yes, it's made it more difficult, but hearing some of the prices that some of these attorneys were charging people, I was just like, this is ridiculous. They didn't do anything wrong, right? That alone is a penalty. So I just decided I was going to do what I was going to do.
And you definitely came to her defense. And like I said, man, just if you can see him, if you're watching this visually, you can see his bow tie as the Avengers. And but he's a hero. If you heard his theme song, he has his own thing. He has 2 theme songs. Steven, my last question to you, and I have 2 more questions. Is
by the way, go to YouTube and just put Steven Stubbs. It's Steven with a PH fights for justice, and you'll see my music video that goes along with it. It starts with me nunchucking on a mountaintop with a drone shots. It's pretty fun.
I think I want to add a bonus to the end of the podcast so y'all can see that and send you links to it because
it's there.
It's pretty catchy. I'm not gonna lie to you. I know that Las Vegas Metro Police Department issued you and Ms. Martinez an apology. What do y'all want to happen after this? What do you?
Well, let me tell you exactly what happened. Right, okay. So it's very, very clear.
Okay.
So we called the Office of Public Information of Metro to try to get the identity of the officer. We got it a different way. Frankly, I could just tell you he is not a well-liked officer. There are many, many officers that hate his guts and think that he's a jerk, and so there's lots of people that have outed him as who this is, and yeah, that's pretty interesting when so many people that you work with think you're such an asshole. Mm-hmm. But hey, it is what it is. I mean, you reap what you sow, right? But I called the Office of Public Information, and I just simply asked for his identification. And the person on the phone just said, "Hey, Mr. Stubbs, I just want to apologize. I've seen the video many times. We've received lots of calls about it. And I want to apologize to Ms. Martinez. That does not reflect the training that we receive, and it does not reflect the majority of officers that try to do the right thing." And so I said, thank you. It was a very sincere apology, and that's very nice.
And so was there anything going to happen going forward with this at all, or are y'all in
Well, we have to fight the criminal charge. I mean, before you even talk about anything civil, you one step at a time. So we'll fight the criminal charge. I will say, however, that true justice here would be using this to make sure that people like Sergeant Fred Ontiveros cannot be in leadership positions. I understand that, you've got to, pluck out weeds sometimes. I get it, right? But if you have the capacity to do this, and if you're not cool-headed enough to do this, then and do the job right, at a bare minimum, you should not be supervising or training other people, right? That's a problem. And so we hope that there is that justice and policies can be made moving forward that will correct this issue.
And and I'm pretty sure you can agree with me. There definitely was an abuse of power. And to be honest, I think there was some biasness in there too, because when he says, go back to LA, this isn't LA, so that kind of seemed personal, like very personal. That he had some kind of issues towards everything, or he wanted to make a statement, or I don't know. I'm not trying to get in my head of what he was doing or why he had to be so aggressive, but
it sounds racial, doesn't it?
Yes.
Right. It sounds
Yes.
racial.
Yeah.
And that's how it was taken. Actually, I had one retired officer tell me that he's actually known for starting his day by saying, hey, let's go kick some ass. That's, that was something that was told to me. So I don't know if it's true. It's something that was told to me, but based on the video, it wouldn't be surprising.
The person she met that night that was with her, that was first tackled to the ground. Was he also Hispanic or Latino?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Okay. You've offered your services to the people in Vegas, and before you give your information, how they can contact you and how you can represent them, can you give a message to those people, not only here in Las Vegas, but protesters? Can you give a message to them, like what to look out for, how to be careful, and if they should get in trouble, like Karlin Martinez, like what should Karlin? I keep doing it. I'm sorry, Karlin. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you give a message to them and like what should they do, their rights, or what final message can you give to them?
Okay, so if a police officer stops you, the first thing you want to ask them is, am I being detained? Because sometimes they stop you, but it's considered a consensual encounter. And unless you make it clear it's not a consensual encounter, the courts will assume that it is. Because people stop and talk to people all the time. So by asking, am I being detained, you clarify whether the officer has reasonable suspicion or not. And if they say no, you say goodbye. I don't want to talk to you. And do it in a polite way, but you have every right not to talk to police if you don't want to talk to police. Exercise your right to film police officers. If there's any encounter, get out your phone and say, officer, yeah, I know you have a body cam. I'm doing this for my protection too. I don't know if your body cam's gonna, fidget out or whatever. I'm gonna record this also. Officers, you generally don't have a problem with that. They might not like it, but legally they know your rights, and so they let you do that. And filming makes it so that just everything usually goes smoother, right? These particular officers for Miss Martinez, they likely didn't have their body cams on because they just walked past and they only turned their body cams on when it was time for the arrest. So likely the only video we have is from Miss Martinez and the other man. So, but film, and I would say be respectful. Look, you have a constitutional right to say some horrible things to that police officer. But just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? What's your goal here? Is your goal against Trump or against ICE? I mean, whatever. I mean, that's where you should have your focus, right? And my dad used to always say, well, he still says, "You're right, Steve. Don't be unwise," right? Because the fact of the matter is, if this goes civil, if anything goes civil, you're going to go into a jury, and the jury is going to say how much money you get. A judge can declare their actions unconstitutional, and you could go to the jury for the sole purpose of how much it's worth. But federal juries, there's a lot of older white people on federal juries. And if you're saying things to police officer that offend the older white people, how inclined are they to give you what you really should get monetarily from a constitutional violation like this, right? So, so being respectful is so important, not just because I think it's the right thing to do as a human being. And I know you have a First Amendment right. Exercise it if you like. I'm not trying to trample on that. But it'll affect your case, and sometimes it affects whether or not an attorney wants to take your case at all civilly. And then unless you want to dive into how to do that, you're stuck with no justice at all. So so that would be my advice. And the entire an entire group of the legal community has stepped up. It's just not me. It's not just me. I know of 6 other attorneys that have offered their services pro bono. The ACLU is coordinating things. The ACLU of Nevada, they're doing wonderful things to make sure people are represented. We're coordinating with each other to make sure our motions to dismiss are on point. So people care about your rights, and people are here to support you. So call the right people, exercise your rights, and we got you. We got your back.
Ladies and gentlemen, attorney Stephen Stubbs. Hey, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
My pleasure.
And before you go, how can people reach out to you, especially in Vegas? How can they contact you? What is your information? Or if you want them to follow you on social media, can you give us that information so we can put it on the show?
Look, I have a YouTube channel. It's there, right? Whatever. I put things on Facebook sometimes. I was involved in YouTube and Facebook at kind of the beginning. So I use that for my practice, but I have plenty of cases. I don't advertise. I don't try to do that for more cases anymore. I just don't. If you Google Stephen Stubbs attorney, you'll see a number. I'll give out my cell phone. I'm happy to do it. 702-759-3224. It's my cell phone. If you have been arrested from the ICE protests and you don't have anything more serious than an obstruction or a failure to disperse or unlawful assembly, just give me a call. I'll help you out for free. I'll be glad to do that pro bono. And I guess that's it.
All right. Hey, Stephen, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and did a great job. He's a hero, Miss Martinez. And like I said, we're going to have her TikTok tagged on this. If you're watching the show, you'll see the ticker below scrolling right now. It has not only Stephen Stubbs information, but Miss Martinez information as well. If you want to follow her, support her and her cause, what she's doing right now. That's the end of our show. Hey guys, if you want to continue the conversation, please go to our website. It's straighupshowpodcast.com. That's STR8upshowpodcast.com. If you want to support our podcast, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/straighupshowpodcast 318. That's patreon.com/straighupshowpodcast 318. Until then, that's the end of our show. But if you come back to our show, there's only one rule to our show. You got to be
straight up.
All right. See y'all later.